Hey everybody, it's tamerilee. So today I'm just going to talk about why you should leave your friends out of your relationship. So this is just my personal experience. It's not prompted by, something that I watched or anything. It was just something that I was thinking about. I dealt with a lot of the one that got away type T's in the past couple months, and actually the past couple years. And it just took a while for me to realize that, everything happens for a reason, lessons were learned, and you just gotta bite the bullet. So this is just too many story times of some relationships that I had while I was in college, and two ratchet ass, two trifling heifers, ruining what I had. But anyway, of course, it's my fault too because I let them. Keep in mind that this story time and the one after, basically 2 in 1, is from a point in my life where I was really, really low, mentally not as strong as I am now. I kind of was just settling for like the bottom of the barrel, thrift store, consignment shop, secondhand type friends that were just not of quality and that were just not for me. But I just figured that at that point, friends are friends and I just need someone to hang out with. So obviously if this happened to me now, I would just tell them have to choke. But this was then and lessons were learned. So real quick. My first situation that I'll talk about was when I was in this situationship with this dude in college. I was a sophomore, and it was like the first type of serious, kind of intimate, emotional relationship that I was in. Before, things were just mad casual with the guys I would see. Like, they didn't even care to figure out who I was, let alone, ask about my interests. It was just mad casual, nothing of substance, a whole waste of time. But, that was that. And I felt like I was just used to that, So when I encountered this new person who I still kind of, not that I can't get over it, but it just still kind of burns me a little bit that I ruined it being so immature and just childish with this freaking roach of a friend. When I met this dude, this was the first time where he actually wanted to get to know me. I know the bar is like in the basement, but he wanted to get to know me, and he really, cared about me, protective, which is a huge major thing for me. He was really protective, and the chemistry, something that you cannot buy, something that you cannot compromise with. Chemistry is so freaking important, and he was the first guy I really had chemistry with, and my emotions just got over my head. I didn't know what I was doing. It was too much for me to deal with, because before college I didn't even have relationships, not even fake ones, like the little 2-week things, like nothing. So this is my first time where I had to deal with those emotions, and it was really wild. And so I consulted my friend, who was, if you could describe her, just in around the way roach, and I don't mean that in a nice way. That could be in a nice way. She really was just bad, and I'm not even gonna try to fake it. Like, honestly, she was one of those people that you really should just stay away from. Toxic, miserable, and insecure. And she was the type of person that she couldn't just be that. Like, we're all miserable sometimes. We're all angry sometimes, depressed, sad. But you don't necessarily bring other people around you down to your level. At least for me, when I'm depressed and anxious and stuff, I kind of isolate myself just because I don't want people to see me that way. She was the type of person where the minute she fell low, she was like, bitch, you're coming too. So yeah, just to give it a little summary, because I have another story I'm going to tell after this too. I met him on Tinder. She met her guy on Tinder. We basically kind of scheduled the same night to just hang out with these guys, and because we were bored, we weren't really talking to anybody. And when you're just with your friend and you're just in your room, you're like, man, I'm bored, let's just hang out with like somebody new. And so I was talking to him for a little bit on Tinder, messaging. I didn't even have his name saved. I just had his name saved as like nice guy Tinder. Like, I just scrolled all the way to the top of the message thread just to figure out what his name was. So he wasn't really that important on my list. And she had her guy that she set up to hang out with, and he obviously was just as bad as she was. And anyway, so after we hung out with these guys, I just had literally the best night of my life. Like, the chemistry was insane. He was so mature. He freaking smelled good. Jesus Christ. He just smelled amazing. And it was just like, I don't know if you can see, but I have, maybe I'll do like a little room tour later on, but I have like the Godfather posters on my wall and Lana Del Rey. Like, I really like that. I'm very traditional in that sense, where I like kind of manly men, and the men that smell good, and men that have a presence, and none of them little SpongeBob jokers that I was dealing with before had that, and this dude did. So I was just like, ooh, And so the morning after, because we were too tired to basically reconvene and, spill our tea that same night. So the morning after, we were at breakfast in our school cafeteria. And we were basically talking about our nights. And she was like, damn, this dude, he had blue hair. His toe was black and it was crooked and falling off. And he hit his head against her wall and his blue hair stuck to the paint. And it was just a mess. And then so while she was telling me her terrible night, I just had this freaking great ass time. And I literally feel like I was going to cry because I'm just emotional like that. Like, I need to have more experience with love. I literally only had 2 instances in my life where I really felt like I loved guys, and it was just these 2 instances that I'm about to let you know of today, which is kind of sad because they both ended, but whatever. So for me, I was just so inexperienced in love, and so my emotions were just all over the place. So while she was telling me about how his blue hair stuck to the wall, she's like, how was your night? And I was just like, oh, I'm gonna cry. I feel like I was gonna cry just talking about it. I was hooked. And so long story short, because, when most people have their first relationships is when they're 14, 15, 16, they get those crazy emotions out the way. You feel like this is the only person you'll ever love. This is the only person you'll ever care about this way. And I didn't necessarily love him. I didn't know him that well. It was our, first day hanging out. But my emotions were in a place where I just felt overwhelmed, and I asked her for advice. And this is where my my spiel comes in, because she was not a person that we should take advice from. Anyone should take advice from. If you have a friend, no tea, no shade to any of these women, absolutely adore their grinds and their life and everything. But if you have a friend like Black China and a friend like Nicole Avery Parker, who's married to Boris Kojo, who was just a bite, who are you going to take advice from? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, anyone that you take advice from should be someone that you want to emulate. Should be someone that you want to almost be in their place. Do you know what I'm saying? You don't ask a blind man how to paint. You don't ask a deaf man how to rap. You don't ask necessarily, I don't want to keep going because that's rude, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you want to take advice from people that have experience in the thing that you want advice from. And for business mentors, you don't want to ask your cousin Skillet or your cousin Joe or Bob. You want to ask the guy down the street who owns a mom and pop shop who's been running it for 20 years. Like, you want to ask advice from people that know what the heck they're talking about. And I thought she knew what the heck she was talking about because she had a new guy every week. But that does not mean that it was quality. And, if I had much more diverse group of friends at the time that were seasoned in relationships, then yeah, I probably would ask somebody else. But at the time, she was like my main friend, and I didn't want to keep, hashing all my college life secrets to my home friends. It was too much to explain. So I just, went up to her and I was like, hey, so what should I message him back? He's calling me. I don't know what to say. I'm so nervous. He's so cute. I like him so much. And so I would always just every 2 seconds, I didn't make any decisions about the situationship by myself. It was just asking her what the tea was. And I was like, okay, what does this mean? What does it mean when a guy does this? She had experience with older guys with kids. This dude I was talking to had a 1-year-old, but that's neither here nor there. But she had experience with stuff like that. And so I would ask her this, that, and the third, like, what should I do? La, 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 la. She was telling me I was going to be a stepmom, because it's 1-year-old. Mind you, we didn't even discuss, titles or anything. We really didn't have, a formal, white table type date, or anything. And I was just eating up everything she was telling me because I was so inexperienced. And obviously I didn't take into account that she was somewhat of a miserable person. And even though she had a new guy every week, it was always some terrible story. She would send me videos of guys basically cussing around in voicemails. And, I was just like, hey, experience is experience, which is not true. When you're in a relationship and you have girlfriends that you might be close to, you might have known for a long time, but they never have, serious luck in love, or the guys that they choose are not necessarily equally yoked as them, or they're not caring, protective, intelligent, things that you would want in a guy. Yeah, don't listen to them. I know your first instinct, and my first instinct was, oh, let me just tell my girlfriend, let me ask her for advice. No, because that literally led to the demise of the relationship. Every single time that he would message me past the time I would necessarily like if it was maybe 2 hours, until he texted me back, or maybe he would wait a day or something, I would just be freaking out, and I would tell her, oh, he's playing me. Yesterday it only took him 30 minutes to respond, and now it's taking him 2 hours, and now it's taking him the whole day. And, so every single thing that happened, I would let her know about it, and she would, put her opinion about it, and it was always something negative. And so I was just thinking this guy was trash, and I was like, oh no, I like him. Like, it can't be that bad. So I kind of started asking her less and less and less. And of course, the minute I started doing that and just figuring stuff out on my own and realizing that, shoot, he's just a freaking person. It's not that deep. It's not that serious. Like, just talk to him. Like, not everything's an innuendo. Not everything needs an article. Like, how Cosmo says 100 ways to keep a man. The only thing that keeps a man is a man that wants to be kept. Period. You can do all these little things that these women write in these articles, and he'll still freaking leave you. Like, I'm saying, like, Beyonce and Halle Berry, the most beautiful women on earth that have all this talent, and the guy freaking cheated, and it's nothing to do with you. It's just with the guy. So the end all and be all is just be yourself, and if they like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't, and you just gotta choose whether you're gonna participate in that. Something that Iyanla Vanzant, who I absolutely adore, from Iyanla Fix My Life, she says that, I'm gonna paraphrase here, you cannot change anybody. You cannot tell someone how to act. You can only decide whether you want to participate in it or not. And that really, stuck with me. So don't even try to change anybody. Just choose. Hey, do I want to deal with this as they are? How they are. Do you want to participate in it or not? If not, then, don't. I started dealing with, things on my own, figuring it out. My first kind of serious feelings, relationship-ish. And she was getting mad. And like I said before, she was a miserable person when it came to relationships and to a lot of things. Very insecure. She kind of clung to me more than I did to her in our friendship. And she started getting upset that I wouldn't, come to her every 2 seconds with a question. It turned from me asking her to her asking me, who are you texting? Who are you calling? Why aren't you talking to me about him anymore? Are y'all doing something? Like, it was like, wait, what the hell? Like, wait a minute. You know what I'm saying? Like, wait a minute. Like, hit the brakes. And I realized later on that she actually had a crush on me. That explains a lot about some of the behaviors that she had, just because she had a crush on me, and that she was just not possessive, but she was just very clingy, and it kind of weirded me out at times, because I'm like, okay, I get it, you might care, because at this point I didn't really think she had a crush on me. But when I would be texting him or calling him, and I would have to wait till I got into my room. Like, I would hang out in her room a lot, and every single time he would call her text, she's like, oh girl, I don't want to, you better talk to him in your room. I don't want to hear about him. He's a bad person. I don't like him. I'm like, what you mean he's a bad person? Like, he just is kind of slow to respond, but then again, he had a job, things with family. He was a freaking dad. Like, so anyway, long story short, it got to the point where I just completely stopped asking her for advice, because I knew that there was something wrong with her. I was like, okay, this isn't a normal, like, friend trying to protect her other friend type of situation. She's actually being a hater, and she's jealous, because at this point, this dude is like rapping to me on the phone to like my favorite instrumentals. Like, one of my favorite beats is from Kanye West before he turned. It's called White Dress. And he would put it on the phone, and he would rap to me, oh, I got me a college girl and stuff. And I'd be like, ooh, me? While me and him were kind of getting better, she was getting worse, and she didn't have any luck in any of the situations that she had. And so that kind of got vented out on me, I guess. I remember one time we were at a bus stop. I was texting him, and at this point he was getting sick and tired of her. Like, she would be snatching my phones at times. Like, girl, what are you telling him? What do you, like, she would be like mad crazy. Like I said before, if I said it already, if it was me now, I would have just told her to choke. I wouldn't have dealt with her. But at that point, it was just like, you're out of state. She's like your only friend. I was just dealing with it. But she'll be taking my phone, like texting him for me, and I'll be talking to him. She was taking it and be like, oh, I don't like you, like mad crazy stuff. You might not have it to this degree, but just use my story as humor, okay? Because my life was literally a joke. It got to the point where she kept doing it so much, like snatching my phone and stuff, and I was like, bitch, wait a minute, like, you're doing a little too much right now. I understand that you're going on blackpeoplemeet.com and you try to go on Farmers Only and Tinder and Boy Meets World or whatever it is, and it's not working out for you. I get it, but stay out of my situation. I said it in a nice way, because she was kind of rough around the edges, if you know what I mean. Not that she would do anything, but I just felt like she was a little...
the ghetto! The ghetto!
A little hood. And I was just kind of like a docile kind of girl at the time with full self-esteem. And I don't want to have no arguments with her, so I would just kind of sneak around. But anyway, I said all that to say, the guy eventually was like, listen, this is too much for me. I like you, but you're making it mad hard. This girl's snatching the phone. She's texting for you. I don't know who I'm talking to. I'm a little too grown to deal with this. Bye. And let me tell you, I was just, I was so upset. Like, I remember the nights just crying, like, damn, you know, like, ugh. And I obviously just hated her after that. And obviously, I kind of let it happen, you know, by not cutting her off, because at that point, I didn't like her anyway. I was just dealing with her because I was alone. That just really made me hate her, because this is like the first time this was right before my first relationship, like first actual boyfriend, you know, began. But this was like the first time that I really was having more serious feelings, and it freaking got ruined because I didn't know how to tell a freaking roach to, you know, go back in the corner. Like, I wish I had a bottle of rage right then. Like, I swear to God, I was so mad. But whatever, I learned a lesson from that, and we kind of reconnected a little bit later, and he was like, listen, I'm not about to talk to you if you still talking to that girl. And I was like, no, I cut her off. And he was like, really? Like, you should have. He was real mad at me because we had really serious feelings, and it's over now. But anyway, so that was my first story time. Second story time is right after him. I had my first relationship. Now, it's very interesting because the timeline is kind of messed up here. I was still somehow friends with her when this relationship began, because I need help. Like, let me tell you, that's why I left that school. I was a nutcase. Alright, so this is my real relationship, the first relationship that I had. My first boyfriend, who was literally, like, perfect. Ugh. And he treated me way better than the first guy. Like, honestly, the chemistry was great. We talked way longer than the first guy. And I actually got introduced to him because, so the roach I was friends with, she was talking to this guy, and she wanted to have a date with him, but she didn't want to go alone. She was like, hey, I'm gonna set up a double date. I asked him to bring his friend. You want to talk to him? And I was like, okay. We kind of got hooked up in that case. And the thing was, like, this was after the first guy. I still didn't like her, but then again, the way my depression was set up and the way my anxiety was set up, I was just like, damn, you know, let me just stick with her. So I was still friends with her, but whatever. It was, at this point, it was kind of good because I think she kind of understood that I kind of didn't like her after the first situation. So she really calmed down afterwards. And I still cut her off after this relationship, you know, with the second guy. But during this time period, she was kind of chill. So she set me up with this dude. And when we first started talking, it was mainly on, you know, he was a fitness guy. His friend was fitness. They would go to the gym all the time. Me and her were thickums. And as you can tell, yeah, so we were just like, oh, you can be our trainers, our fitness coaches, and this, that, and the third. And they're like, yeah, sure, why not? Then it kind of brewed from there. We finally set up a double date. It was my first date, actually, like my first true date. The first guy was just hanging out, you know, so it was just hanging out. But this guy, he literally just showed out. Like, our first date was actually a double date with me and him and her guy, and it was just like literally a dream. That was the only time I actually really liked her as a person, because I was just happy that she set us up, you know, especially after ruining, you know, my first situation. I felt like she kind of redeemed herself with the second situation. So anyway, the chemistry and the feelings were even more intense than the first one. And at this point, I wasn't even worried about the first guy. Like this new guy, like my first boyfriend, like was just romantic and thoughtful, a gentleman, like an actual gentleman, holding the door open tight. I was like, man, like people actually do this in real life, you know, like he paid for everything. He was really responsible. He was in school working. He would call me on the phone while he was working, you know, and we would fall asleep on the phone, and he would sing me Frank Sinatra. Like, ugh. Honestly, child, I was here for it. Our relationship was great, and I'll get into the whole don't ask your friends for advice thing in a little bit, because in the beginning, the relationship was great. It was really funny because, like I said, it was a perfect situation, perfect boyfriend. He was great, thoughtful, like calling me all the time. It wasn't even my friend that ruined it, because I completely left her out of it. It was kind of him that changed. Like, he ruined it. It went from literally talking on the phone all day, every night, and falling asleep on the phone, to him calling me every night, to maybe every other night, to once a week, to not calling at all, not calling on Valentine's Day. I was just like, did something happen? Like, I was really upset about it. And yeah, I still didn't ask her for advice because I still didn't trust her. So I was kind of dealing with this a little bit on my own. And I think at this point, too, I made a new friend, which was even worse than the roach that I had before. I was just, I'm so glad I left that school. There was good people there, but I just couldn't find them. But when you're in a low place like that, then your filter's different than if I were to be in this place, and I would find good people everywhere I go. Whereas when you're in a downward spiral, you also kind of attract people in a similar situation. So I was friends with another girl who was just even worse than the first one. When things started going downhill with the guy, like when he didn't call me Valentine's Day, I literally had to set up a Galentine's Day. So I was really hurt because this guy who literally was perfect just changed on his own. I didn't even have to do anything. I was like, did I say something? Like, did I do anything? Like, I don't understand. So it was just something that happened to him. I still honestly don't know what happened. And I don't necessarily care. It's just like, I took that as a lesson too. So it wasn't a wasted experience. But when it started becoming so distant to the point where we weren't even texting anymore, I'm like, I know this is my first real boyfriend, but I can kind of tell we're not in a relationship no more if you don't freaking call or text me. The new roach, let me call her a centipede. No, but like this new girl that I was friends with, she was one of those wild girls that was just like F everybody, F every guy, F everybody. So she was just like, F him, you don't need him, like, just say that you're single. You don't have to tell him nothing. You don't have to formally break up with him. You don't have to tell him, hey, I'm leaving you. You don't have to tell him this, that, and the third. He obviously made his decision. He's not talking to you no more. And of course, this is where the advice from friends goes in. When you're in a relationship with somebody, please don't be no passive aggressive type person. Like, you just really have to communicate. Like, we're adults now. If you're grown enough to sleep with somebody, and this is just in general, if you're grown enough to sleep with somebody, if you're grown enough to call them your boyfriend, if you're grown enough to call them your girlfriend, if you're grown enough to propose and marry and all this other stuff and have kids with these people, like, you could freaking tell them, hey, what the are you doing? Like, what the is this? Like, please tell me what's going on so we can fix it. And I really was doing a thing where I was writing paragraphs. Oh, my heart hurts. I don't understand what changed. And he wasn't giving me anything to work with. At this point, I was just kind of like, I'm lost here. And so I basically was telling her, listen, this dude that was literally a dream come true just turned into a whole nightmare. Did a whole accent come out? A dream come true? Like, what was that? She was like, F him, download Tinder, find a new man. And at that point, when you kind of feel like Beyonce is sorry, I ain't thinking about you, I kind of felt like, you're right, F him. I don't feel that way no more. Actually, it's very interesting because we still kind of talk. But, yeah, she was just like, F him, download Tinder again, find a new dude. He's going to be sorry that he even changed up on you. He's going to be mad that he switched up. And I was like, okay. And so I downloaded Tinder again. And, to kind of make it burn, I kind of used the pictures that he took of me. Like, he would take pictures of me, being a whole photographer type. And I kind of used those pics, because those pics are actually kind of nice. And I knew I wasn't going to talk to none of these dudes, and I didn't. I think I literally said hi to one person. Like, he said hi, I said hi, and then I deleted the app. I was like, I can't, I'm not this type of person. I would just hate myself. And so I literally deleted it right after. But I think he saw it anyway, because right after I deleted the app, I was just like, man, the fact that I even got to this place, like, having a whole dating app without formally breaking up with this person is trash. Maybe he is going through some mental problems. Maybe he's going through family problems, and I just need to communicate. So I was just like, F it, even though this relationship is good as done, let me just still tell this boy I'm done. That way, if I do want to download Tinder again, I could do it on a clean slate. And so I just got her out of my head. She was like, you don't need to tell him. You don't need to tell him nothing. I'm like, girl, bye. And so I wrote a whole paragraph saying, this isn't working out. I'm sorry. La, 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 la. And he was like, oh, really? I saw your Tinder, though. I didn't say anything about it. I'm like, okay. I was like, what am I supposed to do with that? But yeah, so anyway, those are my story times. The long and short of it is, if you're in a low place of your life, or if you have friends in low points of their life, kind of tread with caution. Understand if you're depressed or anxious or have low self-esteem, and you kind of feel really insecure in your relationships and you just want some help or advice, do it from people that actually are successful in relationships. Do it from people that actually have a good record with partners. Like, I'm not saying if they never were abused or assaulted or anything like that, but if they have a record of just guys that are just terrible womanizers, guys that cheated on them, or people that they cheated on. If you have girlfriends that cheat on their men and things like that, or guy friends that cheat on their girls, just do it from, get advice from people that you want to emulate. If you want their relationship, then take their advice. If not, then don't. And that was my problem. I kind of just was doing it from people that were in my circle, and not everyone in your circle is someone you want to take advice from. And if that's the case, then you need to reevaluate your circle. But at that point, I didn't have the mind to do that. But I learned my lessons, and I hope that you guys took something from this. I hope I'm not rambling too much. I try to make this shorter than my first video that I made, which is called Skincare is Not a Face Mask. Please comment below and let me know what you think. Tell me about some experiences that you had with some toxic friends that you got some toxic advice from, and how it worked out for you. And I hope that we all learn from our lessons, and communication is extremely important. Transparency is extremely important. And even if you have to fumble the ball a little bit, if you just rely on yourself for the most part, of course, get advice from people that you really admire and people that have experience in the things that you want advice in. But you have the certain tools. And with relationships are kind of sacred. Relationships are really sacred. The further deeper you go, like engagements and marriages, they're really sacred. And you don't want to just keep opening that door to criticisms and things like that, where they're really critiquing on things that you told them about, and most of it, if not all, is on your side of the story and not necessarily the complete and utter truth. So just try to understand that relationships are very mature things, and so you have to be mature, and you have to kind of put your big girl panties on and deal with it. And if you have arguments, if you have problems like that, you have to deal with it. You can't just keep running to your friends every 2 seconds, because it'll just always be downhill. And that's something that I learned. Maybe you learned something else from your experiences, but just comment below what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching my video. I love you, love yourself, and have a great day. Thank you for watching my video. Follow me on Twitter at @realtamerilee, and if
I got Instagram. Yeah. Add me on the ground.
@tamerilee. Like and subscribe to join the tribe, and comment to join the conversation. I'll see you guys next time.